Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with one of our great clients, Joe from Earth Art Landscape. And Joe's been with us, I think you've been with us like a little over a year now. I just wanted to jump on. Joe's had a lot of success with our program. Obviously, he's done a lot of the heavy lifting on his own, but we've been blessed to be able to partner with him and help his business. So I wanted to introduce him and wanted to allow him to speak a little bit about his experience with us, and his background in the industry and hopefully inspire some of you other guys that are on the fence or looking to do the same that Joe's been doing with us, to take that next step. So, Joe, appreciate you jumping on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tyler.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's start with your background, kind of in the landscape industry. I know you've been doing it a long time, but kind of give me the background.
I started the business in 1987. Didn't really know a whole lot, but just knew I wanted to be self-employed and look like a good avenue. I liked working with my hands. So we started from very humble beginnings. Um, and we just learned it, we learned the trade. We wrote a lot of checks for our mistakes. So we kind of learned on the fly, um, built our business to where we are now, which is, we're not a huge company, but we're probably one of the better as far as the top quality niche market. So we're not for everybody, but we tend to specialize more in the unique jobs, right? The harder to complete jobs, the ones that are a little different, not looking for volume, just looking for more quality.
Definitely. So kind of give us the where you kind of were at before we met. I know we met over a year ago, but kind of give me what you guys were doing before you guys kind of met with us.
So we were always doing hardscaping, landscaping, pretty much whatever Lord brought us. So if it was, some years might be heavy in planting, other years might be heavy in hardscaping. Some years we might build a few more decks, some years a few less decks. Well, we were going into the fall before we had met, and we built a deck for patio or a deck for a client. Then he had us do the patio, and then they said, hey, they knew that we did some interior modeling in the off season, so that turned into a full blown rental on a house that they had built in 1970 and had not lived in 10 years. So it was a total gut job. And so when we were in that, we were on that project for 8 months and started thinking, we haven't been out in the marketplace. We've been solely with one customer since, almost a year really, because they had fed us all this work. And I thought, what happens when we're not being exposed to all the people for word of mouth? My fear was, and my concern was, is that, hey, it's going to really slow up. And then what do we do when we're done with this big project? We've got the crew and how do we keep everybody busy and still make a living? So I started seeing some of your stuff on the hardscape forums, and I thought to myself, boy, if he could do half of what he claims on here, it would be worth the gamble. So that's kind of where we were at there. I was just looking for another way to put it out there and not just have to rely on the roller coaster of word of mouth. Word of mouth is great; it's a slam dunk, but it's not always there for you, when you might need it, you know.
Yeah, we use the word predictable a lot, and word of mouth is just it, like you said, it's always going to be king. We like to think of it as we're just expanding your word of mouth network, by doing paid ads and reaching more people. But we like to add the word predictability in there because it is hard when you're working on word of mouth only. You don't always know where that next job's coming from, and it adds a lot of stress. You just have more peace of mind when you know what's in front of you, right? So that predictability aspect is huge for us.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely evened out the lead flow. I mean, we don't worry. In fact, I like it when I get a little bit of a breather in July to August just to catch my breath. And it's cyclical. It always is. Even if you're paying for ads, it always tends to be a little bit cyclical. People are on vacation and just not thinking about doing the landscaping. It's not that we don't have enough work, because we've got more work. I've got a backlog of things to bid, but I'm just not having to go out on as many calls for new work at the moment, which has been a nice reprieve.
Yeah, that backlog, explain that backlog to me a little bit and how this works because you don't get that in word of mouth a lot of times. And I think the thing that people don't understand is that when times slow, because they always slow, no matter what, it's just how the seasons work. You've been doing it long enough. I've been doing this long enough to know where the waves are going to hit. But when that work slows, how nice is it to have that backlog and that pipeline of people, that we've generated through ads to be able to go back and talk to and possibly become a client?
Well, so two things. One is we have a backlog of work that we've already closed, and we have a backlog of work that we're designing and currently working with clients to make them close clients. So depending on what phase we were in, I always communicate with the client so that we don't end up with a cold lead, right? So somebody's talked with us, hey, just let you know we're halfway done with the design, or we're a quarter of the way done, or wherever we are in the phase, just to keep them, captive in our audience stream. So that's been nice because at that point, I know that the stuff that we've committed to on design work that we will close. It's just how it works. You pretty much know who you're going to close and who you're not going to close after the first meeting. Occasionally I'm surprised, but not very often. Not having done it this many years, I don't know how anybody else does it, but we spend anywhere from, on a real short, small project, a half an hour on site for initial visit, but more than likely, usually an hour to hour and a half. Just building rapport, understanding what challenges, what problems they're having, so that we can provide a solution. We don't try to sell them anything. We just try to provide a solution to their problem. And more times than not, that's what gets us to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're somebody that I've used referenced a ton to a lot of clients about your rapport building and your initial consult. But let's go back to when we were talking, and I don't know if people know this, but it took you a while to pull the trigger with us. What kind of was the final decision maker after a few months of kind of going back and forth, looking at, yourself and saying, what was that final decision to say, yeah, let's go work with Tyler?
Yeah, so a couple things. I knew right off the bat after about the first 30 days, I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. But then I started looking at, okay, once I pull the trigger, just like when you bring on a new employee, we're not cutting anybody loose when things slow down. So I needed to make sure that this was a legacy cost that I could withstand. And even if it took 3 months to yield us anything on a return. So could I, front the money up front? Would I be okay with that? Would I be comfortable with that payment? If it didn't yield, for at least 3 months. And so then the other thing that was the big get me on the bandwagon to get rolling with it was I didn't want somebody else to get my slot. So I thought I really believe in what Tyler's got. A couple times I called you and said, hey, I'm not getting cold feet. I just want you to know this is why I haven't pulled the trigger yet, because I want to start and not say, hey, Tyler, we're really tight this month. We can't do it. I want to be able to say, no matter what's going on my end, that we're continuing on through. It's a commitment, is a partnership. And as long as it pays for itself and generates leads, we're there. We're a partner with you guys for life, really. And we wouldn't think any other reason why. And as long as that channel is providing value and paying for itself, we would be stupid not to stay there. So for us, it was more about wanting the exclusivity that you offer and not wanting anybody else to get into that market space. So it's kind of like being first at the forefront of our market before somebody else was just like me and saying, hey, I think that Tyler can really produce some results. And then I call you back. It's like, well, I'm really sorry, Joe, if you'd have called me a week earlier, we just got rid of your slot. And I was like, I would be like freaked out, like, but I'm certainly glad that we did pull the trigger with you. We've not looked back at it. We've not regretted it at all. In fact, the way I look at it is we're closing deals with people who've never heard of us before, never seen us, don't know us from Adam. For us to be able to go in and build rapport on day one and essentially close the deal even before I've had people say, hey, in fact, I have another one that the guy just called me today and said, how are you coming on the design? And do you have a start date yet? I haven't even given him any pricing yet.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that for it? That's really where I think we all want to be, is that you're, the client believes in you so much in the vision and the quality that the price is ancillary. I had another guy say, hey, don't you think it would be prudent that we could get the permitting started? And I said, yeah, let me just tweak the drawing. Let's meet one more time just to make sure we're all on the same page, and I'll get the stuff ready to submit. We still haven't even talked pricing yet. I mean, he has no idea, and it's not really about the money. He was very clear that it was just about maybe how he might use the space a little bit differently for the tweaking, but just to kind of give him a round about budget, and then let's get rolling. And then, when can we install it? That's everybody's question. When can you install it? And people are willing to wait for quality,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like I said, your rapport building is next level. I think everybody can that's another talk we'll do for sure one day. But okay, let's go back now to when we did start. We finally started, we got going. You had that concern of, okay, I wanted to make sure I could front this for a few months before, even if it didn't yield results, I wanted to make sure that we gave this time. Obviously, it did yield results right away. So kind of give us the experience of that first part, starting to work with us, and then, maybe those first few months.
So Right away in week one, we had a bunch of leads. I think we had 3 or 4 leads pour right in. And then within week 2 or 3, um, we closed over $300,000 worth of work, right off the bat. Boom, boom, boom. So to me, I was like, great. Wow. If this continues like this, it's a home run. I need to add 3 crews. I mean, if I get everything that's on my bid sheet, I need to go from 1 crew up to 3 crews. And we certainly are heading in that direction of scale, but we're also controlling the growth on it. But I'm thankful that I can pick and choose. In the past, you kind of just, something came along. It might not be your favorite job to do, but you have skills and you can do it. And I never turned any work down just because I didn't want to turn something down and find out I needed it. You know what I mean? Like, wow, that's something that we could have popped in and out of, and it wouldn't be something you hang on the wall. It's like, check out this really cool job. It would just be income, and those are important as well. But so we never make it a habit to never turn anything down unless we're so busy that we just can't take it.
Yeah,
But we're being
absolutely.
a little bit pickier these days, about what we do commit to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you said, the mindset is don't turn anything down and take everything. And then you get to a point where you can be a little more picky and you can kind of qualify certain people. Hey, they're a little more window shopping. I don't use the word tire kicker, as you know, but they're window shopping more than earlier in their cycle. We can push them down a little bit the road and let's go heavier after these people that are more intent now.
And let
And that
me let
creates
me
that
jump
backlog.
let me jump in there. I don't get a lot of window shopping. Whatever you're doing with your algorithms and whoever you're putting me in front of, I don't get a lot of tire kickers. Or should I say window shoppers, right?
I
I
trained you.
Yeah, occasionally I get somebody that and they'll mention that they've been talking to several people, and I know that they're, lower on the priority list because the last thing I need is an experience or I should say, you know, just going out there and bidding it. And I tell people, hey, if you're just looking for a number, we're probably not the company for you, you know, and I'll just bow
Definitely.
out that way, gracefully, and because I just don't have the time or the resources just to spit somebody a number, nor do I want to. It's not really a good use of my time.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So ads aside, leads aside, we accomplished a lot there. Kind of give me what else your experience been like working with me with on the not even the consulting side, but there's the advice side and having that partnership side of what's next within the, the sales process and stuff like that.
So what I like is I've always seemed to be able, that is it's not hard to get a hold of you. If I got a question, if you don't answer, I can text. You're pretty quick at responding, or somebody, Leanne from your
Mhm.
organization, somebody always gets back with me in a very reasonable amount of time. If we, have issues there, or something on the ad pops up, you're very quick to be on top of it. So from that standpoint, it's been a great partnership. I think I shared with you before, I don't really care to learn how all the algorithms work. I don't want to run my own ads.
Yeah.
I want a landscape. I want a hardscape. I want to design. I want to do the things I want to do that I'm good at. I don't want to wear all the hats anymore. I'm getting
Hmm.
at 56. I'm ready to wear a few less hats in this organization. So the partnership has worked out great from a standpoint that that's one less thing I have to worry about is where is the good quality leads coming from. From the other side of things, at some point you and I have talked about doing a hiring funnel,
Hmm.
and we'll revisit that soon. The other thing we need to do is SEO marketing on the website and take
Hmm.
a fresh look at that. We've just been so slammed. I don't think I've been this busy in 10 years, to be honest with you. And it's really because of the Facebook marketing that you guys have provided us, which is a great problem to have, Now, I'm not complaining, but I also have to pick my battles and say, SEO would be great, but I've got a full plate already. So
Yeah.
if the SEO, if I put that on there, am I gonna just rip all my hair out because I'm as busy as I want to be right now? And if I were any busier, I'm not sure how I would handle that. I would probably come to you and say, Tyler, okay, we need to run this hiring funnel and that hiring funnel because now we need to start farming. And that's for a business owner, that's really, in my opinion, it's a little bit tough to let go of some of that control, you know,
Definitely.
um, simply because of the standards that I built the company on, the standards and the quality that we stand for. When people see our work, it's next level, there's
Definitely.
nothing sloppy about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we like to be flexible on our end and say, hey, we know we need this, but it's not the right time for Joe. Let's figure out a time that it is.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at, hey, are we closing? Are we getting on? Do we need to call people quicker? Like things like that are things that we look into people's sales processes and look into their overall game plan of their business and say, hey, what's next? It's not a pushing like, hey, let's go do your website right now because I want to make money. It's, hey, I think we
Right.
should redo your website and do your SEO so that you can continue to build that organic. Hey, I think we should do a hiring funnel in January because that's when you're actually going to want to be hiring. So I like that partnership aspect of it with you as well. I think we have a really good relationship on that aspect.
One thing I'll jump into, I remember when I first signed on with you, you said, hey, make sure you call somebody back within the first 7 minutes. And I make it a point as soon as my text alert goes off, that tells me I've got a hardscape lead, I call them immediately. Unless it's after hours, then I'll send them a text and I'll send them an email. I just got a little
Yeah.
form script. We just pop their name in, send it on out. We still let the AI side of things handle it.
Hmm.
Or if it's somebody that looks like it's a low priority, we just let the AI handle it. But 90% of the stuff I'm calling right back. People are amazed at how quickly we get back with them. Sometimes they haven't even finished pushing the button, it seems like, and they're like, wow, that was really fast. But they like the responsiveness. I've had clients that just don't want an answering machine. They want to talk to a human being right
Hmm.
now. And generally speaking, it seems to be the older clientele, the people that have established money,
Hmm.
um, that they want to have rapport with somebody. It's not the challenge I think was the younger generation is they've never been taught with all the gaming and all that. Everything's like quick, 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 instant, and
Hmm.
there's no art of getting to know somebody in conversation and finding out what they like. We had one client that I happened to notice in there that she had a lot of Aztec and type art, and she had told me that she worked for General Motors and started up a couple plants from Mexico. So as I was looking at her possessions in her house and commenting and telling her how nice things looked, I integrated that into the design of the patio. And even though we were higher than the other quotes, and she already had 3 or 4 quotes by the time she called me, and we closed her, and we didn't have to come down in price. It was what it was, and but she loved the design, and that's really what sold her on that. So the other thing too is, and I'm a firm believer, and I've told you this is never email a quote. Always deliver the quote in person. Go over it. Last thing we go over is price. We want to talk about ideas first. It should never really be about price. If it's about price, we've lost,
Hmm.
because we've not properly conveyed our connection to the client, of why they should work with us, that
Yeah.
about the ideas. And it's really, I think that's what really closes more businesses. It's never really about the price. Price is important, but that's the last thing we discuss.
Yeah, I think the minute you go to pricing as the sole direction and sole decision, you become a commodity because everybody's doing what you're doing in the
Sure.
terms of landscape hardscape, right? But they don't provide the value that you provide, right? And so when you're talking price, it's like, yeah, that guy could do it cheaper, but he's not doing what I'm doing, right? And so it's more value, it's more direction of customization for them. And you do a great job in all this stuff. Like I said, I appreciate your willingness and openness to make some of those adjustments, but you've done a great job with that. So yeah, how nice is it for you as a business owner? Because I think you ran a lot of the show, you still run a lot of the show, but how nice is it for you as a business owner who's out in the field a lot and enjoys being out in the field, to work with someone who can kind of deliver on this end and give you peace of mind on this end, but not only just deliver, but the communication compared to others, maybe that you've seen in the space, you could probably deduct that maybe others aren't as communicative.
So, I mean, for us, it's like I don't even have to worry about the lead generation. So that's one less thing I have to worry about, which in our industry, that's the lifeblood, right? If your phone stops ringing, you start panicking because you're not making any money. So for us, it's almost like we go to the bank with it. We know it's going to happen. There may be some slow times,
Hmm.
but never have I got to the point where I'm like, hey, Tyler, you need to do something about these ads because they're just
Yep.
not generating. They just keep generating, and I understand, having been in business since 1987, when the typical slow cycles are anyway. I don't care if you run the best ad, people just aren't, July and August, we still get calls, but people, for the most part, they're enjoying summer, they're not thinking about the hardscape. Now you get a little closer to the end of August, September, people are like, oh crap, we need to get our stuff in before the fall's over with. And there's always a spring rush and a fall rush, but our spring rush ran all the way up into July,
Hmm.
um, which is elongated. I mean, you first things start to taper down till end of August,
Yeah.
typically.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about marketing and the misconception is that you turn it on when you need work or what you don't see in those months that are slower in lead flow is that people are still seeing that stuff. They're still seeing your name pop up, right? And they're
Mhm.
still connecting what their
Yep.
project is going to be to your name. So when they're ready to pull the trigger, it's a very easy decision for them to fill out that form. And so in those slow times, it's like, okay, the marketing is still working because we could see data. And then we have a big thing here at Fast Break where we say we make decisions off data, not emotion. Right. And so there's going to be those slow times where we're like, hey, this feels like it's not working. But if you look at it, it is definitely working. And so we make a lot of decisions based off data, because it can get
Mhm.
emotional as a business owner. Like this is your baby, this is your livelihood, it's your employee's livelihood, and I get that totally as a business owner myself. And we do our best to communicate with you guys and jump on and make sure that we're providing excellent value to you guys.
Yep. And then we're happy. Like I said, I told you before, we're a lifer,
Yeah,
we just believe in what you do, and we've seen it firsthand. So it's not me selling, your praises. It's working, I don't have to worry about it. It's a very, in my opinion, it's a very affordable cost. Especially once you get past the first month or two, then you don't even realize that you're paying it out just because you're just used to that amount of money going out. It's not really a big deal. And I think it's like anything, like when you have your first child, you can't save any money for months because you pay for all the things you never had to pay for with that extra money. And it's just like, running out the bag with the hole in it, right? It took me a whole
definitely.
year before I could get on top of everything that I had to spend with our firstborn. That's 32 years ago, so I get it. But it's been a good run for sure.
Cool. Do you have a rough number in your head? I know you got to go back and do your books, but do you have a rough number since you've been working with us, how much you guys have done from the ads?
Oh gosh. I would have to say, definitely it's probably close to $1 million worth
Yeah.
of work easily. And I'm just speculating, just kind of going through my head, based upon some rough numbers. I mean, we just had a customer, that we're doing some design work that, his budget was 250, so
Mhm.
it doesn't take long to get to 1 million. Most of our stuff is, we get stuff in the 20 to 30 range. We get stuff in the 50 to 100 range. We get stuff in the quarter million range. It just is, it's all over the gamut depending on the scope. But for us, a 250 to $300,000 job it's a big job for us. We're not a huge company, but we also want to be able to dial the speed back if need be to make sure that the quality is there.
Definitely.
So sometimes
Definitely.
they take a little bit longer. So that's always a challenge too. That's why, we're talking about enough work to split out to two different crews. So if I have a project that isn't, as particular, isn't very as specific, it's just a patio, I can send the B crew out to go do it.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm in the same way with my business. I slow roll things. I want to make sure that we're completely set. All of our processes are locked in and dialed in, and we're not missing a beat. And then I'll expand, right, and grow a little more. So for me, that's exactly the way I function. But for you, what's your favorite? Give me a couple of your favorite parts about working with Fast Break and working with me personally.
Working with you guys, I think, probably like I said, the best thing for us is I don't have to worry about this part of my business. I don't have
Mhm.
to worry about, is there going to be food on the table? I don't have to worry about where the next job's coming from. You've certainly given me, plenty of qualified clients to pick from, who I want to work with, and not everyone's a good fit. And I think, um, being able to discern that is upfront is probably an art form as well. But I think that's probably my favorite thing. The other favorite thing is sometimes you and I just get on the phone, just, shoot the crap and just bounce some ideas. You asked me if I would be up to helping out with one of your clients just with some business advice.
Yeah.
And I was all for it, and I'm here to help. From our company, we always teach. It doesn't matter if you're there for a week, if you're there for a year, we're always teaching, teaching, teaching. And I don't, some people will say, well, if you give all your secrets away, then the guy just leaves and goes down the road. Well, at least you'll know how to do it right. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it is we're, increasing the professionalism within the industry one employee at a time.
Yeah.
But most of the people stay with us. We haven't had people go out to start their own company because, they like the culture that we provide
Hmm.
with our company.
Definitely. What would be your recommendation for us to see, any of your colleagues? First, would you recommend us? And then what would you say to people? Because there's a lot of people on the fence. It took you a few months to kind of get going for other reasons, but I would say our average client probably spends a month to 3 months thinking about working with us before they actually pull the trigger.
Wow.
So completely normal. But what
Mhm.
would you say to other people watching this and kind of that are on the fence about working with us?
Well, here's what I would say. Don't wait too long because that opportunity may be passed up by the next guy who's a little smarter than you, who sees the value in what you have to offer And as you and I were talking, somebody, called you up and said, "Hey, Tyler, I'd like to, go ahead and do it, but too bad because the zip codes are already taken because I've got the zip codes." So that can happen to anybody. So if you're on the fence, you might want to think about moving quicker than later. If you're worried about results, Tyler produces results. I've not been disappointed from day one. I mean, everybody's market's different, I suppose, but obviously you guys understand the outdoor algorithms. I mean, they're, it's really hard in this industry to set yourself apart from one company to another. There's so many landscapers. People say, "Hey, have you heard of so and so?" And I'd be like, to be honest with you, no, but that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, unless I'm driving around, unless they're doing some outstanding work or I see them on social media, there's just a lot of us out there. And so, how do you disseminate one guy from the other guy? So you're doing that for us. So to me, I don't have to work that hard. All I have to do is keep my trucks clean and do good work, and do what I love to do. I'm very passionate about what I do in the industry. Marketing isn't one of them, but it's a necessity. So I'm glad that you're the passionate side for us. And so anybody that's sitting on the fence, my biggest advice to you would be, what are you waiting for? I mean, the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take you to hit that sales number. If you don't think it's a good value, give yourself 3 months and judge after 3 months. If you think about what you spend on 3 months, you can blow that on one of your toys. You know what I mean? I mean, you think about it. You go buy a motorcycle or you buy, some sports car or whatever. You buy a piece of equipment. I mean, I've always invested in things that make me money, but if you think about what people spend their excess money on, it's really not that much money when you think about it in the bigger scheme of things. You know, it's a calculated risk. And, you can bet on the wrong guy or you can bet on somebody with a track record. And you've got a proven track record. And like I said before, if you would have only produced half of what I saw you bragging about on Facebook, I would have been okay with that too. You know,
Yeah, I do like to talk a big game, but I think we back it
well,
up pretty well.
but at the same time, yeah, it produced results, and I think a little quicker than what you told me. Hey, it might take us, to dial it in. It might take us a couple months to do it. So, as far as would I recommend it to somebody else, I already have, and
Yeah,
uh,
you
and
have.
I've even told you if you got somebody that's on the fence, have them call me. I'll stop what I'm doing and talk to them and tell them, why aren't you what haven't you why haven't you signed on yet? What's the
Absolutely.
holdup? What's really the pain point here, because obviously you must have everything figured out or else you'd already be on there. If you're smart enough to know that you don't have to wear all the hats, I think it's no brainer.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things we try to do is get people to take off hats, get out of the business, spend more time doing things they love doing. And, you're one of those people that I've had a very, very good experience working with, and obviously I've enjoyed the heck out of it. And so, like, you're a lifer for Fast Break. I'm definitely a lifer for Earth Art. So,
Yeah.
I love that relationship that we have. But I appreciate the heck out of you, man, for jumping on and sharing your story and your experience a little bit with some of these guys that are going to be viewing this, and just telling us what it's been like. And hopefully we can continue to change other people's businesses and affect change in a positive way in the industry.
Yeah, again, one last thing. I'm actually looking forward to the day that we do a hiring funnel,
Hmm.
because I would love nothing more than just to go visit in the field and just work solely on design and sales. That's really the way that we'll grow as a company. And we've got some key players in there right now, but we need, I mean, as you know, it just takes years and years to pass that same knowledge down and to get people to care. And
Absolutely.
that's the whole thing. If you can train people to see what you see, or if you get somebody that already sees like you see, that's half of the battle, you know.
Definitely. I'm excited for that as well. We're 100% on a hiring funnel, so I know it's going to work for you. And yeah, it'll be fun when we start to tap into this next stage of our business relationship together. So again, appreciate you coming on, man. And yeah, we'll definitely continue doing what we're doing with you.